Hey guys, we have a blizzard and snowstorm to talk about today for the portions of the Great Plains and Upper Midwest. Today is Sunday, March 24th, and that's what I'll be talking about in this video. So this is the weather alerts right now we're looking at from the National Weather Service. Anywhere in red here you see across the majority of central Nebraska into a little bit of South Dakota, Colorado, and Kansas. Those are where we have blizzard warnings at the moment. There will be heavy snow falling along with high winds, so there'll be whiteout conditions and very hazardous travel in this area. But anywhere in this pinkish color across the upper Midwest, that's where we have winter storm warnings. There'll still be heavy snow falling in this area, producing hazardous travel weather here also. So let's go straight to the models, and I'll show you guys what's going on. And this is the big picture. This is the high resolution HRRR model looking at the 500 millibar heights and wind speeds, or in other words, the jet stream. So over the next 48 hours, notice how we have this very deep trough and coming down into the west here as it moves to the east. This is what's causing the low pressure system to develop in the Great Plains states and produce that snowstorm, while also producing some severe thunderstorms for portions of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas today. And then as we go into tonight and tomorrow, that whole trough starts to shift east slowly. So let's go right to the radar here, or the future simulated radar. Let's go to the upper Midwest here. So this is currently this morning what we're looking at. We have heavy snow falling at the moment across portions of northern Iowa, but as we go into tonight, this afternoon and tonight, the majority of that heavy snow starts to push into portions of Minnesota and Wisconsin, and still lingering across portions of northern Iowa. The heaviest snowfall rates will be right near that rain snow line right in here across northern Iowa and far southern Minnesota this afternoon. And as we go further out, by around this evening into the early, like tonight, and more likely around sunset tonight, we could be talking about a very heavy band of snow right across the Minneapolis area. That'll produce some pretty hazardous travel. It'll be occurring right around the evening rush hour on top of that. And as we go further tonight, this is going into more of the overnight hours. We start to get more of a snow to rain scenario for southern Minnesota as we start to get a warm nose as that low pressure system starts to move north. But on the backside of it, we start getting some heavy snowfall rates across portions of Nebraska. That's where there's a blizzard warning in this area, because we have high winds on top of that. And as we go further out into the overnight hours into tomorrow morning, this is early tomorrow morning on Monday, March 25th. Notice how we still have rain across portions of southern Minnesota, but snow on the backside of it in Nebraska, portions of South Dakota. Also getting some heavier snows across northern Minnesota into northern Wisconsin and upper Michigan. And as that whole low pressure system starts to move north tomorrow afternoon, the rain snow line gets as far north as portions of central Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. But right to the north of that is where we'll have the heaviest snowfall rates. Places like Duluth tomorrow afternoon could be talking about heavy snow. And then by the time we get into tomorrow night, the HRRR is even showing rain, which is snow changing over to rain across the arrowhead of Minnesota, but snow continuing on the backside of that into western and northern Minnesota. But the HRRR has the low pressure system moving right overhead of Minneapolis overnight, on the very early hours of Tuesday morning, as a sub 990 millibar low. So a pretty deep low pressure system we're talking about, and then that whole thing just starts to race north by Tuesday afternoon. Rain changes back to snow across the Minneapolis area. Let's go look at some wind gusts out of this system. So going through today, tonight, we have wind gusts in the 30 to 40 mile per hour range across southern Minnesota and Iowa. But notice how we get into tonight. The winds really start to pick up on the backside of it here across South Dakota and Nebraska. Gusts as high as 40 miles per hour along with heavy snow. And then especially once we get into tomorrow morning, these reddish areas here, those are where gusts could approach 50 miles per hour across South Dakota and Nebraska. That's on top of the heavy snow that will be falling. That's why we have blizzard warnings in this area. Very hazardous travel likely tomorrow across Nebraska. And pretty much the whole day we're talking 50 mile per hour gusts for South Dakota and Nebraska. And then that slowly bleeds east by Tuesday morning into portions of Minnesota and Iowa. Now, looking at the snowfall from the HRRR model, we're talking a very large area of 6 inches. Pretty much includes all of Minnesota. The northern Wisconsin, and then on the backside of it into eastern South Dakota and into central Nebraska. Now, the best chance to get 1 foot of snow would be in this area here across portions of northern Nebraska, maybe into eastern South Dakota and into central Minnesota, most likely to the north of Minneapolis, because Minneapolis will change over to rain. But the best chance we're getting a foot of snow will be to the north of them, I think. Places like St. Cloud, Duluth will most likely get closer to a foot of snow out of this, while Minneapolis stays in more of the 6 to 10 inch range. Now, this is the HRRR model. I want to go to the NWS blend of models, what the NWS is saying. Going into by Tuesday morning. They have the same idea, where the heavy snow will stay to the north of Minneapolis into central Minnesota, and places like Duluth will get the most likely areas to get a foot. But notice how there's still a large area of 6+ inches possible, basically anywhere from northern Nebraska, eastern South Dakota, into the majority of Minnesota. The NWS is forecasting about 6 inches for Minneapolis. I think they'll be more in the 6 to 10 inch range, and areas to the north will be closer to a foot. But in general, we're talking a pretty hazardous snow system here, hazardous travel conditions, heavy snow, high winds. So yeah, be careful out there. And if I'm not mistaken, that's all I have for today. I just wanted to make this video short. So just real quickly here, just what I'm thinking. I'll show you guys what I'm thinking. Yeah, let's just ignore the ice area for now. But the area where I'm thinking of the heaviest snow will be in this area here, from northern Iowa into eastern South Dakota, the majority of Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. And I think the best chance to get a foot of snow would be across northeastern South Dakota into central Minnesota, northern Wisconsin. I'll dash that here in red. I think that's the area that's most likely to get a foot, and then everyone else will get more in the 6 to 12 inch range. So no matter what, it'll be a real hazardous system considering how high the winds will be with the snow falling, producing whiteout conditions. So reconsider travel times and stay safe out there, everyone. I hope you have a good one.